I'm back. I don't have hiccups this time. Let's just go straight into it. Yes, episode 5. Let me read this shit. Good morning. Please enjoy the new game with its new game master. I say that, but the game has already reached its climax. The culprit has been cornered and merely awaits checkmate. I am sure there will be something you can spot from this clearer perspective. The difficulty is fairly easy. What could possibly fool you now? The culprit has been cornered and merely awaits checkmate. Natsuki yelled as she knocked loudly and repeatedly. Shortly after, there was a heavy clunking sound, and the sound of the door to Ginzo's study unlocking could be heard. As the door opened, a heavily sweet, venomous odor flowed out. Natsuki was always ashamed of how she automatically grimaced at that, even though she thought it rude to the family head. Kraus was waiting for her inside the study. Natsuki flew into his arms. With an uncertain gait, Natsuki went towards the center of the study, supported by Kraus. There, a dignified bed. Oh, fuck me. Fitting for the head of the Ushiromiya family could be seen, along with Nanjo, Genji, and Kumasawa. After sighing deeply, Nanjo left the side of the bed. On the bed, Ginzo could be seen lying down, sleeping. Shit. Ginzo died of old age, bitch. Or he was poisoned. Sobbing, Natsuki put her head against the chest of the man who had fallen into a sleep from which he would never awaken. She really fucking loved him. Natsuki couldn't stop her tears over the death of Ginzo. For some reason, I didn't expect her to like or love him that much, whom she had loved like a second father. Oh. Kumasawa rubbed Natsuki's back, consoling her. Kraus slumped into his late father's favorite chair. By sitting there, he might have been immersing himself in memories of his departed father. Or perhaps he thought that by sitting there, he might be able to understand just a bit of the madness of Ginzo's later years, which had eluded him to the end of his father's life. Nanjo turned his back and looked down over the outside world through a crack in the curtains. It was the same thing he'd often done when Ginzo sat in that chair, contemplating a chess move. Damn, so he actually, well, this is nothing new. He's died multiple times before, but at the very, to die like this. Nanjo understood that as well. This was the death of Ushiromiya Ginzo, a man who had risen like a comet and glittered like a supernova in the post-war world of business. His funeral would probably be of a fantastic scale, and it would also be the ceremony marking Kraus's inheritance of the headship. He would have to arrange everything as the host of the event, carrying out funeral diplomacy perfectly. and make it clear that the Ushiromiya family would still hold enormous influence in the political and financial spheres. As Nanjo watched Kraus, he was vividly reminded of the time when Ginzo had been suddenly selected as the Ushiromiya family head, a time in which Ginzo had been lost and confused. Nanjo could remember that well, and for that reason, he was able to understand Kraus's distress and sympathize with it. Natsuhi's sobs eventually subsided. Seeing this, and leaving Kumasawa to care for Natsuhi as a fellow woman, Genji returned to Kraus, and he lowered his head slightly, as though asking what should be done.
手続き等は私と源氏さんでやろう。クラウスさんはまずは親戚の方々に連絡した方がいいでしょうな。
Make it known, bitch. Kraus, with his hands still over his eyes, didn't respond. Perhaps even though he had known this day would come, Kraus really couldn't hide his shock at how suddenly it had reached them.
私と南條先生にお任せを。旦那様はまずは奥様とご相談いただくのが良いかと思います。
Maybe she heard that, or maybe it was a coincidence. As though responding to Genji's words, Natsuki came over. Her eyes were red from crying so much, but she apparently understood the heavy responsibility that had been imposed on the two of them even better than Kraus did.
これからはあなたが栄光ある後ろ宮家の当主です。
The head, bitch.
お父様の後を立派に継いだことを内外に示しましょう。この夏日、あなたの妻として棺を並べる日までお仕えする覚悟です。
Wow, that's quite a romantic thing to say. She's very romantic. I love her, man. I love her a lot. Trying to encourage her husband, who was overcome with shock, Natsuhi lent him some reassuring words. When Kraus finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face, he looked up at the ceiling with a blank expression and let out a deep, deep sigh. Is he sad?
お父様の残したものを食い荒らそうと目論む輩が大勢いるのですよ。私たちはお父様の名誉と財産を守るために戦わなければなりません。それが後ろ宮家当主の最初の仕事ですよ。
分かってる。分かっていると。
南條先生と源氏はお役所や葬儀業者への手配をお願いします。特に源氏、お父様の葬儀にふさわしいものとなるよう特に手配を頼みますよ。
かしこまりました。
それから南條先生、お父様は病院でお亡くなりになったわけではないので、
場合によっては解剖が入るかもしれませんな。
なんとかなりませんか。亡くなったとはいえお父様の大切なお体です。傷をつけるなど耐えられることではありません。
気持ちはわかる。だがそういうところをきっちりすることも大切だ。それにこう言ってはなんだが
Proper procedure.
難しい親族の方々が多いんじゃないかね。
How is everyone else gonna take it? There was no way to know what those inheritance vultures might try to find fault with. Well, if you were to fail, and use that as a point of contention to start some trouble. Right now, not only was it important to pay Ginzo's remains the respect they were due, but there was also a need to focus on solidifying the position of the new family head, Kraus.
わかりました。
You have to fucking throw down the fucking gavel.
必要最小限にお願いします。
You gotta show that you mean business, bitch.
間違ってもお父様の威厳が損なわれるようなお姿にしないように。
それは大丈夫だ。安心しなさい。とにかく金蔵さんのことはわしらに任せて、夏日さんはクラウスさんのそばにいてあげなさい。
Why don't you stay by my side? Fuck Kraus.
大変なんだから。
分かっています。あなたもどうかしっかり。
How is Kraus? He's not saying much. How is he taking this exactly? Kraus was still staring lazily at the ceiling, with a befuddled expression on his face. Natsuki understood the shock and heavy responsibility. She felt that she understood her husband's feelings as well as anyone possibly could.
親族への連絡は私がします。今だけは休まれてください。
Who the fuck is this? Kraus didn't respond. Natsuki thought that he was being a little bit weak, but that just made it all the more important for her to support him right now. Seeing her husband like this actually stirred Natsuki up, and a resolute expression rose to her face.
これから忙しくなります。今できることを始めましょう。夫はきっとお父様と二人きりで話したいこともあると思います。私たちは一度ここを退出しましょう。
そうでございますね。
Yes.
その時間はきっと今しか取れないでしょうから。
Being in charge of a funeral is tiring work. There's no time to shed tears. If Kraus were ever to be given time to cry for his dead father, that time would have to be now. Everyone agreed with Kumasawa's words. Even then, Kraus continued to lazily gaze up at the ceiling and didn't respond in any way. Natsuki urged the servants to go.
私はジェシカにも話してきます。今やあの子が次期当主です。
Oh.
それにふさわしい自覚を持つようによく言い聞かせなくては。
待て。
Mate? What do you mean? As they each started to make their way out of the study, Kraus finally spoke. What is he gonna say? They stopped walking.
はい。
待て。
はい。
Hadn't she already stopped walking? Just like her husband had asked. But despite that, he once again told her to wait. From those slightly weak words, Natsuki understood that he had probably stopped her because he wanted her to be by his side.
お前たちは下へ。私は夫と言います。何かあったらここに電話するように。
かしこまりました。だから待てと言っている。
Oh shit, what the hell? When Kraus suddenly raised his voice, everyone jumped and turned around. Oh shit, I guess he's really assuming fucking Kinzo's place. Unable to comprehend what she had done to spark her husband's wrath, Natsuki ran up to him.
どうしましたあなた。私は何か失礼なことを口にしてしまいまし
Oh
たか。
no, baby, you haven't done anything.
だったらお許しを。
いや、違う。そうじゃない。そうじゃない。少し待て。時間をくれ。
Something's really wrong with this fucking dude.
ええ、分かっています。心を整理するためにも必要です。私たちはその時間をあなたにあげようと、ここから静かに出ていくだけですよ。
だからそれを待てというのだ。いいか、誰もその場から動くな。一歩たりともだ。疲れたなら椅子にでもソファーにでも好きに座ればいい。だから何も喋らずに静かに黙って何もせずにいろ。
Why? What the fuck? Why do you want us to just stay here and do nothing? You don't even want us to talk? Those unreasonable words felt like a glimpse of how Kinzo used to be. Exactly. He's really assuming his father's position. Natsuki couldn't hide a slight surprise at those words, which made it seem as though Kinzo had possessed her husband. Natsuki told the servants to wait for the time being. She ordered them to sit in a sofa a short distance off, approached her husband, and spoke to him in a small voice.
あなたがお命じになれば、夏日はいくらでも待ちます。とどまります。ですからどうか、お気を鎮められてください。
違う。そうではないのだ。そうではないのだ。
Was it really his father's blood, or was he actually being possessed? Kraus's disorderly style of speech strongly resembled Ginzo's. As she watched this, Natsuki felt with an even greater certainty that Kraus was indeed Ginzo's son. Yes, and that he was the true successor to the head, more suitable than any other person.
夏日、こっち。
What's going on? Kraus stood up and headed towards the window, trying to lengthen the distance between himself and the servants, waiting on the sofa by even a small amount. Natsuki realized that he must have something secret that he wanted to talk about. What could it possibly be?
はい、あなた。何事ですか？
親父に死なれてはまずいのだ。
しかし、もうお亡くなりになりました。 そういうわけには参りません。
そうじゃない。今はまずいんだ。
どういうことですか？
Yeah, what?
親父の財産を担保にしている。相続問題になれば隠しをせない。
Collateral?
担保ですか？いかほど？
メロディーランドの時、近藤君を応援したことがあっただろう。
あの方とは縁を切れと申し上げたじゃありませんか。私には断ったと言ったはず。どうして？
男の義理というものがある。断れなかった。
Okay, so this is why he was angry. Kraus claimed to hold honor as a virtue. However, Natsuki knew that he most often used this as an excuse after he couldn't bring himself to pass up a deal.
お金に余裕があるならいざ知れず。この島のリゾート計画でかなりの借金をされたのではありませんでしたか？
ああ、したさ。方々で恩人に世話になったのだ。それらを返済するためにも座しているわけにはいかない。返済するためには金がいる。金を生むためには金がいる。金がなければ始まらない。この島の計画だって企画会社がおかしなことにならなければ順調だったのだ。都の役人とも連携は取れていた。東京都の新しい観光スポットになると知事の太鼓判ももらえていた。私の根回しは完璧だったのだ。たまたま巡り合わせとタイミングが悪かった。ちょっとした運のすれ違い、事故みたいなものだった。
あれは事故なんかではありません。詐欺です。あなたは騙されたのです。初めから彼らはこの島のリゾート計画など描けていなかったのです。
そんなことはないぞ。
Shit,
短く君のビジョン
okay.
は先見性にあふれていた。世界と未来に目を向けた広大な視野は私が夢だと信じていたものなど猫の額ほどの広さしかないことを教えてくれた。夢が広がる世界に未来に。夏日も一緒に聞いていただろう。
ええ、聞いていました。そしてお帰りになられた後に申し上げたはずです。あの方はうさんくさい。語るのは未来ばかりで地に足がついていない。これ以上お付き合いしてはならないと。
土方君は立派な好青年だ。彼の生き様からは学ぶことも多いぞ。彼は若いが尊敬できる。彼のことを侮辱することは許さんぞ。
あなたは同じことを月旅行の時にもおっしゃいました。先見性がある、未来がある、夢があると連呼され、その挙句はいかがでしたか？荒唐無稽な話だったとあなた自らがお認めになったではありませんか。私はNASA の高官とか名乗るおかしな男が現れた頃からこれは絶対におかしいと確信しておりました。
Wow, NASA came to him?
国際的な詐欺師だったに過ぎない。あの件については私も曽根崎氏も被害者だ。彼の先見性は今をもって間違っていない。将来必ず世界の大富豪が宇宙旅行をたしなむ時代が訪れる。
So everyone is just hearing this, by the way, because now they're not whispering anymore, they're screaming.
民間医者によって独占されるだ。着眼点は間違っていない。それを利用して世界中の投資家を騙している国際的な詐欺集団がいて、
曽根崎という男もその一味だったと申し上げているのです。あなたはどこまでお人よしなのですか？どうしていつもうさんくさい話を疑いもせずに乗ってしまうのですか？
訂正しろ。曽根崎氏は優秀な未来ある男だ。うさ
Okay.
んくさくなどない。彼の語る夢は未来を先取りしているからこそ、それが見える者には妄想にしか見えんだけだ。女のお前には未来など見えん。
ええ、女の私には未来など見えません。でも現在なら見えます。私の目の前に狡猾な二枚舌の詐欺師たちに丸め込まれ騙されてなお妄信している哀れな夫の姿なら見ることができます。
わ
黙れ。お前には金持ち業も経済も何もわからん。夫の仕事に口は出すな。妻は家事だけをしてればいい。
Oh, there it is, bitch. His old ass thought process. Without another word, Natsuki fell silent just as Kraus wanted. Wow, bitch. She was already far beyond anger and sadness, and the emotion that lay on the other side of those was an almost indifferent pity. Kraus had always been frightened of Ginzo since the day of his youth, and had come to subconsciously admire the way his father lived. Without realizing it, he had come to believe that he could only be recognized as a man in his own right if he surpassed his father. However, Ginzo had been a mad genius, the likes of which had never before been seen in the Ushiromiya family's long history. His talent was a gift from heaven, and it definitely wasn't genetic, much less something that could be learned. Shit. Natsuki instructed the servants not to tell anyone about Ginzo's death, and dismissed everyone for the time being, to give the two of them a chance to talk alone. What if they're gonna pull that shit they did last episode, dude? We demand to see Ginzo. Then, she invited Kraus to her... and made him tell her everything about their current financial situation. There were things that Natsuki hadn't been told about, under the assumption that a woman had no business knowing. Natsuki had herself made a point of avoiding this area in the past, thinking that it wasn't a wife's place to intrude on such matters. However, this might also have meant that she had been remiss in her duty as a wife to protect her family. The depths of this sin had been made quite clear to Natsuki. Kraus was probably tired of trying to defend himself, perhaps because he had gotten a headache and hit his face, he hit his face and sank into silence. Natsuki noticed that the water in the electric kettle was boiling and stood up to refill her cup with black tea. And when she touched the cup of black tea, she noticed for the first time the sound of the cup and saucer clinking together told her that her fingers were shaking. Oh, Kraus had built up a large debt to obtain funds for his various projects and to cover the losses when they failed. Of course, he had put the mansion and property up as no fucking way. However, doing such a thing above board, would have resulted in the mortgage being registered. In other words, there would have been a record that Kraus had put Ginzo's wealth up as collateral to obtain a loan without anyone's permission. Kraus couldn't afford for Ginzo, Ava, and the others to learn of such a thing. Therefore, he had been putting those assets up as collateral using the worst possible method. He signed everything away. What Kraus was saying probably meant that he had, in essence, signed away the rights to their assets. If those assets had been used as collateral for a loan, then Kraus would have had some options under the law. He would have had to deal with a bank, which would have absolutely no compassion, but they would have been able to work something out within the rules set by society. However, signing away the deed and power of attorney was a whole different story. In short, even the mansion they were living in was at risk. If the person holding the deed were to decide to ignore his agreement with Kraus and sell the mansion to a third party right this moment, they would have no recourse whatsoever. Far from using their houses as collateral for a loan, this was basically the same as selling it to borrow money. Oh shit, wow, Kraus did that?
つまり、後宮家の生殺与奪は金貸したちの手に委ねられていたわけですね。彼らがほんのわずかの気まぐれを起こして突然この家を売り払ったら、私たちは今すぐにも荷物をまとめ出て行かなくてはならないということですね。
理屈上はそうだ。だが取引の相手はいずれも社会的信用のある人物ばかりだ。サラ金じゃないぞ。
Well, I fucking hope so.
経済人同士の信用取引だ。
It would be very bad. Imagine they just wake up one day and someone comes up and says, "Get the fuck out, we selling this place."
私も相手を信用している。相手だって私に金を貸すことで私が大きな事業を成功させ、投資した額が大きくなって帰ってくることを信用している。委任状を預けたのは私の誠意と事業の絶対の成功を疑わないからだ。ここで渋ったらどうなる？自分の事業に自分で自信が持てないことになるだろう。
If your virtues had been successful, we wouldn't be in the debt now. We wouldn't be in debt now, would we? Natsuki only barely stopped herself from saying it.
お父様は亡くなりました。するとどうなりますか？あなたの借金が白日のもととなり、他の兄弟たちに咎められることになるわけですか？
Not just that, but aren't they about to like try to punk him for some money? Don't they want like 700 million each?
それだけでは済まない。多分刑事訴訟にも及ぶだろう。
Criminal charges?
刑事訴訟？どうしてですか？
What?
君は知らない方がいい。
Oh, don't tell me.
絶対にこのことを誰にも知られてはならんのだ。
Oh, my poor girl Natsuki. I don't like seeing her like this. She's so worried. Kraus looked at the floor shamefully, shaking his head over and over. If it would come to criminal charges, then he must have broken some laws. He had probably been so intent on raising a large sum of money that he hadn't paid any heed to appearances. Kraus had seriously believed that his many projects would definitely succeed and return huge profits. So he had figured that even if he broke a few laws, he would be able to pay everything back before too long and pretend the whole thing had never happened. This might have lessened his resistance towards breaking a couple laws. And now Kinzo's death, the worst possible thing, had occurred, and soon he wouldn't be able to keep it all hidden.
私たちはどうなるのですか？
心配することはない。君は信じてくれんが、景気は今確実に上向いているんだ。私が都心で投資した不動産価値はみるみる上昇している。今それらを統合して巨大ビジネスタワーを建設する計画が進んでいる。これは私のこれまでの投資の中で最も確実で最も大きな成功をしているものだ。ただそれは実をつけるのにまだ時間をかける。絶対に確実だが今すぐというわけではないのだ。
その事業の成功は借金を返済するに足りるものですか？
もちろんだと思う。これまでの借金を全て帳消しにできる。だから信じてくれ。もう少しだけ時間が欲しいんだ。
しかしお父様はもうお亡くなりになってしまいました。もうその時間はないのですよ。
分かっている。分かっているとも。だからどこかから金を調達して今すぐに借金を返さなくてはならない。
Debts. I hate debts. I hate owing money.
とにかく金が必要なんだ。
Well, don't
金が大量に。
you have a lot? Wouldn't you have a lot? Oh shit. Kraus roared and clutched his head, writhing about as if in pain. As Natsuki watched, several conflicting emotions swirled about in her chest. She felt pity for her husband, but at the same time, she felt he was a fool. And she also felt a mixture of anger and regret towards her own irresponsibility in letting her husband run wild for so long. It should have been clear to him well before today that they were in a very critical situation. And yet he had irresponsibly waited for this moment to come and was now writhing about. Her husband was so foolish and pitiful. It was easy to feel frustrated with him. However, she was his wife. For a wife to ridicule her husband as a fool would run in conflict with her responsibilities. If he was a fool, then she would have to support him to compensate. However, she didn't have a clue what she was meant to do about this. If there was a massive amount of money like that, within easy reach, there was no way that Kraus wouldn't have already laid his hands on it. It would also be easy to tell him to be a man and give up on everything. But that would also run in conflict with her responsibilities. She was Ushiromiya Natsuki, the woman who had become Kraus's wife and sworn to support him, the new head of the Ushiromiya family, for as long as she lived. She had to somehow help her husband in his efforts to raise money. She understood it logically, but she couldn't suppress the indescribable feeling of dejection that seemed to rise up from the dark depths of her heart.
そうだ。 親父の隠し黄金。
Oh, is he gonna solve the epitaph?
10トンの黄金なら200億の価値がある。あれさえあれば。そうそう、夏日。
Oh, fuck,
あれだ。
I
魔
skipped
女の
that.
気分だ。
Okay, I skipped that. Hold on. If I had that, everything could be resolved. Okay.
あれを解こう。一緒に解こう。黄金さえ見つかれば万事
Seriously?
解決なんだ。そうさ、この島のどこかに隠されてるはずなんだ。あれさえあれば、あれさえあれば。
Well, if Ava could figure out the epitaph, I'm sure he could.
一体
Oh, is he holding her?
やめてください。
Kraus, acting as excited as if he'd thought up a perfect, brilliant plan, grasped Natsuki's upper arm, tightly. Natsuki couldn't help but be dumbfounded. It wasn't just because she'd heard something as fake sounding as the hidden gold product. Kraus usually disparaged the story of the hidden gold, saying that it didn't exist and that it was all a fiction his father had created to borrow a lot of money. Natsuki was doubly, how do I say that word? Taken aback because of this.
そうだ、ジェシカにも協力してもらおう。
Oh, really?
子供の感性でなら解けることもあるかもしれない。今は一家の一大事なんだ。
It really is a
みんな
family
で協力
crisis.
し合わなくてはならない。そうだ、あんなの親父が作った気まぐれな謎なんだ。解けるはずさ、解けないはずがないんだ。
Wow, dude, he's actually taking it seriously now?
それしかないんだ。
You see what's the word I'm looking for? Desperation? It makes people go crazy.
ああ、夏日。
Turn back on things they believe.
まだ手は残っていたんだよ。こんなに身近に。この島に黄金はある。それさえあれば万事解決なんだ。
Wow, look at him laugh.
ジェシカを呼ぶんだ。今すぐここに。家族の危機は家族で乗り越えよう。さあ早く。黄金はこの島にある。すぐ身近にあるんだ。
Oh shit, what? Natsuki knocked Kraus aside, unable to withstand the pain in the arm he was twisting in his excitement. Kraus tripped over the edge of the bed and flopped pathetically onto the floor.
いい加減にしてください。そしてどうか冷静になられてください。後宮家の一大事にそんな夢みたいなことを言い出してどうするというのですか。
Who knows?
夏日。
あなたもよく頭を冷やされて現実的な金策をお考えになってください。私も頭を冷やしてきます。
待ってくれ、夏日。
Maybe falling over had knocked the sense back into him. Kraus tried to tell Natsuki to stop, but she just kept walking. Closing the door forcefully, Natsuki dashed away. Natsuki ran through the corridor. Oh, Genji. She didn't want anyone to see her like this, but she ran headlong into Genji.
大変失礼いたしました。奥様、お怪我はございませんか。
私は大丈夫です。放っておきなさい。
かしこまりました。
源氏、お父様の書斎はどうなっていますか。
そのままにしております。南條先生は客間におられますが。
そうですか。書斎の鍵は持っていますか。
はい、ございます。
お貸しなさい。しばらく私とお父様の二人きりにするように。もし主人に私のことを聞かれても知らないというのですよ。
かしこまりました。
Wow, bitch. Furniture, huh? After grabbing the key to the study that Genji was holding out to her, Natsuki rushed up the stairs. What if somebody's in there? Or somebody follows her? She then flew into the study, and finally she cried out loud. Oh boy. Man, this is terrible.
お父様、愚かな私たちをどうかお許しください。私と主人はお父様の築き上げてきたものを受け継ぐことができません。罪深く愚かな私たちも お許しください。そしてもしお許しいただけるならば、どうか愚かな私たちをお導きください。
Clinging to Ginzo as he slept in the bed, Natsuki cried even harder. She kept imagining Ginzo sitting up suddenly and patting her head. No, father isn't the type of person to pamper. More likely, he'd yell at me to stop being so noisy. However, neither of these imaginations would come true, because it was an undeniable fact that Ginzo had entered an eternal sleep. But even so, Natsuki hugged the sleeping Ginzo to forgive and help them. It had only been a few hours since his passing. Perhaps his soul was still there, listening to her. Believing this, Natsuki begged for Ginzo's forgiveness and help even more earnestly.
やかましいぞ。私は沈黙を尊ぶといつも言っている。
That voice made Natsuki jump up in surprise. Yeah, there he is. When she faced the direction of that voice had come from, she saw Ginzo sitting in the study desk, folding up his reading glasses.
またクラウスと喧嘩をしたのか。嫁をいたわらぬとはクラウス。私の悪いところばかりを受け継ぎよう。
お父様。
なんというみそぼらしい顔か。顔を笑え。仮にも後ろ宮家次期当主の妻ではないか。そんな情けない面を使用人に見せてはならぬぞ。
はい、お父様。失礼しました。
Natsuki understood. This was just an illusion, one that Natsuki had created from her desire to speak with Ginzo and her memories of the man he once was. No, that's not it. She believed that just for now, Ginzo's soul had shown itself to her. She was sure that doubting this would cause it to vanish in an instant.
当主の座が継承されたと同時に早速厄介事が起きたようだな。
はい、お父様。夫を支えることができませんでした。本当に申し訳ありません。
つくづく後ろ宮家は呪われている。私が当主を継承した時もそれはひどいものだった。お前たちの苦難などまだまだ可愛いものだ。
Ginzo's succession to the family headship came suddenly. At the time, he was nothing more than a young man from one of the branch families, far separated from the Ushiromiya main family. The main family might have had honor and tradition, but that was of no relevance at all to Ginzo, and he couldn't have cared less. Then, the principal members of the main family were wiped out in the Great Kanto earthquake, along with their businesses. On top of that, there was a complicated antagonism between the members of the family at the time, and the elders were all trying to impose their will on the others in that sinking ship. Because of this, they weren't even able to elect a leader to rebuild the Ushiromiya family. They found common ground by selecting Ginzo, a youth with absolutely no ties to any of the opposing elders, to be the head. So the elders hadn't really trusted Ginzo with the rebuilding of the Ushiromiya family. Ginzo had been nothing more than their puppet, with his arms and legs being pulled in opposite directions.
お父様の苦難の日々はよく存じております。
そして戦争が始まった。当時の私はもう生きていくことに疲れ果てていた。戦場で死ねればと願ったが、前線には送られなかった。しかし日に日に戦況が悪化し、本土決戦の時が近づいてきていた。私は不謹慎にもその日が早くやってくることを願っていた。
It was said that, as Ginzo listened to Death's approaching footsteps day in and day out, he started cutting his ties with this world one by one. And then, on that day when he had freed himself from all his attachments to life and reached a state of enlightenment, he had a mystical experience. And he met her, the Golden Witch Beatrice.
私は魔女と契約を交わし、黄金と狂気の力を与えられた。その日を境に、古き私は死に、狂気の魔力を得た新しき私が誕生したのだ。
存じております。そして戦後、お父様は天才的辣腕にて後ろ宮家を復興させるのです。
The now deceased elders who knew Ginzo at the time had whispered to each other that Ginzo must have taken a knock to the head on the battlefield and returned with a different personality. That was how much Ginzo stood out after the war. Whether the story about Ginzo meeting a witch was true or not, there could be no doubt that the extraordinary experience of war had prepared him for death and let him reach a state of enlightenment. Natsuki must surely have felt that if Ginzo had decided to describe that resulting mystical experience as a meeting with a witch, that wasn't something she could flatly dispute.
そうですね。お父様は戦争からお帰りになり、魔女ベアトリーチェを従え、真の意味での後宮家当主となられたのです。
そうだ。ベアトリーチェに出会う以前の私は、当主と呼ばれるだけの人形に過ぎ、私は黄金の魔女を従えて初めて当主たり得たのだ。
お父様、その黄金の魔女は新しき当主である夫クラウスには力を貸してくださらないのでしょうか。
貸すであろうな。真に当主を継承したなら。
Oh, there it is. Truly succeeded.
真に継承するとはどういう意味ですか。
真の意味で後宮家の当主としての責任と誇りを持てるかどうかという。
Okay, he's talking like this, which is making me think maybe he is not in her imagination. Maybe he's actually there somewhat.
夏日、お前ならば分かっているはず。当主とは血で継承されるものではない。魂と信念によって継承されるのだ。クラウスが我が長男であっても、それがなくては真の当主とは呼べない。そしてそれが心に宿されていたなら、その人間はたとえクラウスでなくとも立派な新しき当主である。黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェはその真の当主に力を貸すである。そうであるな、ベアトリーチェ。
Oh shit, bitch, those fucking butterflies. When Ginzo called the witch's name, gold butterflies seethed out of every corner of the room. This fantastical scene had an otherworldly beauty to it. It was like standing in the midst of a blizzard of golden flower petals being blown about a rose garden of gold. As Natsuki stared at this scene in shock, the gold butterflies gathered and formed a human shape. Then the witch of the portrait appeared. Is this our Beatrice? Is like a different one?
後宮家顧問錬金術師黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェである。わらわは奔放にして自由。誰の命令も聞かぬ。
それを世界でたった一人、私だけが支配した。だからこそ後宮家の当主たり得るの。
Okay.
その傲慢さこそが後宮家当主の資格だという。
傲慢とはすなわち自信であり勇気である。そしてそれに見合う力を得ようとする飽くなき向上心の表れである。 だからこそ私はお前を支配した。
傲慢を語る男、それを実現していく様を見るのは心地よいものだ。不言実行は強運なる者の言い訳に過ぎぬ。真の王者は持たぬ者さえも語る。そしてその傲慢を確かに実現してみせるのだ。わらわを支配できる者にはその王者の傲慢が必要だ。
わかるか、夏日よ。真の王者はあらゆる苦難を恐れ。
This Beatrice, she's not completely like dead.
必ず乗り越えられると公言する。その算段がなくともだ。だから弱者は希望を持つ。集い、あがめ、協力を誓う。そこに力が生まれ、有言は実行されるのだ。それを心に刻め。
はい、お父様。
Natsuki understood. Through this mystical experience, Ginzo was teaching her the attitude required to overcome hardship, even after his own death. Ooh, what if she becomes the head? Feeling a warm sensation rise up in her chest, she let the valuable words Ginzo had given her echo through her mind over and over. A true monarch, in other words, the true head of the Ushinomiya family, was not to fear hardship. They had to believe that they could overcome any hardship. If they could not believe themselves capable, then there was no reason why they would be. Natsuki suddenly felt very ashamed of the way she had come into this room, sobbing and asking Ginzo what to do.
私は愚かでした。後ろ宮家の一大事に泣き言を言う暇などあるわけもありません。そしてお父様から後宮家を引き継いだ以上、私たちは何があってもその名誉を守り抜きます。
ほう、どうやってクラウスの借金を返済するか、その青写真も描けぬのにか。
As Beatrice laughed unpleasantly. No, that wasn't it. She was testing Natsuki to see whether she possessed the mental readiness to be a true monarch. Natsuki didn't hesitate anymore. She answered clearly, gazing into Beatrice's eyes.
はい、今はどうすればいいのか、その方法をまだ見つけることはできません。しかし、私の夫は新しき後宮家の当主であり、私はそれを支える妻です。ですから、夫に代わり、私が宣言します。
聞こ
う。後宮クラウスと夏日は、必ずやこの苦難を乗り越え、後宮家の名誉を守ってみせます。お父様にご心配をおかけすることはありません。
クラウスの借金の規模と惨憺たる状況については知っておるな。
はい、この屋敷さえも明日には立ち退けと命じられても拒めぬという最悪の状況です。遺産分配となれば親族たちに刑事告発さえされるかもしれません。しかし心配には及びません。そうなる前に借金を全て返済し、名誉を取り戻します。
As she stood at attention with a resolute attitude, Natsuki proclaimed this clearly with Uchinomiya Ginzo and Beatrice as witnesses. For a while, they remained silent, as though weighing Natsuki's resolve. Then Ginzo chuckled and turned away.
よし、なぜにこやつが我が息子ではなかった。
その資質を持つ女を息子がめとったことさえ、これもまたそなたの強運よ。
Yes, he said that a couple times, right? He said this before, I think in I think it was episode 1. He said Natsuki, oh, if only you were born a man. I don't... So he really likes her.
エアトリアチ、私の最後の命令だ。
当主でないそなたの命令をもはや聞く義理はないぞ。
ならば 新しき後宮家当主の命令に従え。
そなたはすでに当主でなく、クラウスは未だ当主ではない。わらわは誰に仕えよというのか。
I bet it's Natsuki.
お前にそれを
Oh,
委ね
never mind.
後宮家の当主を受け継ぐ資格があるかどうか、そして片翼のわしの紋章を背負うにふさわしいかどうか、お前が確かめるのだ。
断るぞ。当主でなき男の命令など聞けぬわ。
いや違うぞ。これは遺言である。当主が残したお前への最後の命令である。
ならば従わぬわけにはいかぬか。わらわもつくづく付き合いがよい。
違うな。
ほう。
興味を持ったからであろう。
つくづくそなたには隠し事ができんな。
夏
はい、お父様。
乗り越えてみるこの苦難を。
はい。
To Natsuki, that might have been nothing more than a simple response, but to Ginzo and Beatrice, it seemed to carry much greater significance. She's so cute. Beatrice nodded deeply, and with emotion as elegant as her dress, she bowed deeply before Natsuki.
後ろ宮家顧問錬金術師黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ、ここに後ろ宮家の苦難を再び乗り越えるため、そなたの力となろうぞ。
ありがとう。あなたの力が必要です。私たちは必ずこの苦難を乗り越えます。
そのために助力は惜しまぬが、先に断らねばならぬ。かつて金蔵の窮地を救ったように、そなたに再び莫大な黄金を与えれば、この度の苦難は解決することは分かっている。しかしそれはできぬのだ。
そうですか。
すまんな、夏。ベアトリーチェの黄金は私一代限りという契約なのだ。そしてそれを受け継ぐためには魔女の碑文を解かねばならぬのが取り決め。
黄金は碑文にて封じられている。だからそれを解けぬ限り、そなたに黄金の魔法は与えられない。
わかりました。ならば他の方法でこの窮地を脱する方法を模索しましょう。主人は時間をかけるとは言っていますが、必ず借金は返済できると言っています。そのための時間を得ることができれば、この苦難は乗り越えられます。
よいぞ、夏日。続けよ。
しかし金蔵はもう死んでいるぞ。医者と使用人は葬儀の準備。そなたは親族たちにその連絡だ。そなたは自らその金策の猶予時間を終わらせる宣言をすることになる。自ら刃を下ろす断頭台も愉快なものよ。
Natsuki gasped and looked up at the ceiling. There wasn't actually anything there, but even so, Natsuki had found something.
降りたか、魔力が。
夏日、決まったか。わらわに望む奇跡の魔法を。
All of those who had witnessed Ginzo's corpse were once again gathered in the study. Kraus was still very unsettled and clutching at his head. Genji was as expressionless as ever. Nanjo and Kumasawa wore bewildered expressions on their faces. But in stark contrast to all of them, Natsuhi's expression was resolute.
あなたにもう一度お尋ねします。金策は間違いないのですね。
1年、いや、せめて半年あれば必ず実る計画なんだ。 しかし、今すぐにはどうしても無理なんだ。
ならばそれを待ちましょう。
しかし、お前も言ったぞ。親父はもう死んでしまった。
お父様はお亡くなりになどなっていませんよ。まだこうしてご健在であられます。
When Natsuki said this, everyone looked up instantly startled, because they immediately understood what those words meant. However, Kraus alone didn't get it right away and had to ask.
それはどういう意味だね。親父はもう現にそこに。
繰り返します。お父様は未だにご健在であられます。ご自身の研究がお忙しいので、これまで以上に書斎を出ることはできません。ですから私たちはお父様が研究に専念できるように外務をすべて執り行い、
Wow, bitch.
お父様に不要なお仕事が及ばないようにしなくてはなりません。つまりそれはこれまでと何ら変わらないということ。理解できていますね、源氏。
はい。片翼のわしの家具はこれからも親方様にお仕えいたします。
熊沢、そして南條先生、私の話は理解できましたね。
それでいいのかね、夏井さん。
お父様は確かに今日お亡くなりになったかもしれません。しかし今この場にいる私たち全員が信じることで、お父様を蘇らせる魔法を使うことができます。
無理ですよ、奥様。そんな、いくらなんでも。
解剖すれば死亡時期を特定される。不審がられることは避けられん。
お父様はお亡くなりにならないのですから、解剖などされる言われはありませんよ。
Wow, what are you saying, girl? Of course, she wasn't planning to make Ginzo live forever. The fake life given to Ginzo would only last until Kraus could repay his debts. After that, Ginzo's soul would finally be able to sleep in peace. Nanjo repeated himself that the time of death would be discovered during the autopsy, but Natsuki said it again that this wouldn't be a problem.
お父様は死亡届によってお亡くなりになるのではありません。
そうか。失踪届か。
After clapping his hands together, Kraus stood up, shaking his fists.
そうです。借金が無事に返済でき、お父様にお休みいただける準備が整ったなら、その時にお父様の失踪を宣言します。
Rokkenjima's vast, uncultivated forest was the perfect place to stage a disappearance. One day, Ginzo would go out to the forest for a walk and never return. They would search for him without success and then be forced to report his disappearance.
失踪なら死体がなくても死亡届を出せる。つまり死亡時期を隠せるということだ。どうだ、南條先生。これなら何の
Look how happy he got.
確かにそういうことにはなりますが。
それで良いのですか、奥様。確かに私たちが黙っていれば、親方様がお亡くなりになられたのは秘密にできるかもしれません。ですが、どこでどう間違って誰かに知られないとも。
熊沢、声が大きいです。お父様はあちらでお休み中なのですよ。起こしてしまわれるつもりですか？
It isn't a corpse. Ginzo is sleeping. As Natsuki said that, Ginzo lay quietly on the bed, as though there was nothing at all odd about her words.
さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。そなたがどんな姿をしていたのか、そなたがどんな日々を謳歌していたのか。
Once again, a storm of gold butterflies started to swirl, covering Ginzo's cold body. Then, after the butterflies exploded into fire, fine gold powder, and disappeared, just like those fairy tales that have been told over and over since long ago, Ginzo slowly opened his eyes and sat up.
お父様。
夏日、先に我が名誉のために断っておくぞ。私は生への執着からそなたにこれをそそのかしたのではない。
嘘つきめ。多少は予見していたであろうが。どうだ金蔵、体の方
悪くはないが、どこか夢の中のような感じ。重みがない。
この世にとどまることを許されぬ存在が未だとどまっているのだ。多少の不自由は諦めよ。
お体は本当に大丈夫なのですか？本当に大丈夫なのですか？
むしろ心地よいから。これが島の世界の感覚ならば、幽霊気取りも捨てたものではないぞ。
これにてどうか夏日、金蔵はよみがえった。故に葬儀は不要。そなたの苦難はこれにて解決だ。
Is this actually Ginzo?
ベアトリーチェ。
Ow, as Natsuki tried to find words of gratitude, Beatrice wagged her index finger and spoke.
感謝の言葉はいらぬぞ。支配者は傲慢であればよい。わらわは頼みは聞かぬが、命令には従うのでな。
それでも言います。ありがとう。これで主人のために時間が稼げます。あとは私たちの仕事です。
しかし夏日、確かに金蔵はよみがえったが、それは永遠ではない。我が魔力が続く限りである。半魔法の毒素により、魔法は破られてしまうかもしれぬことを心せよ。魔法の断りを正しく理解し、その維持に努める。わらわはそなたに奇跡を見せるが、それをつかみ、とどめるのだ。そなたの役目。
無論です。あなたにもらったこの奇跡を私たちは決しておろそかにしません。
それでなるほどな。主の畳は新しい方がいいというのは本当ですよ。気に入った。わらわはそなたに仕えようぞ。後ろ宮夏日、我こそは後ろ宮家顧問錬金術師、黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。いつでも我が名を呼ぶがいい。さすれば現れ、わらわはそなたに奇跡を授けるである。
ありがとう。私は後宮夏希、あなたを刺激し、後宮家の名誉を守ります。
Wow, okay. Again, episode 1. My girl not damn. You know, I love her so much, really. Oh, what?